But we're going to jump in right now with Hunter McElrea. And Jonathan, why don't you introduce Hunter, and we'll talk about all the things that he's up to this season.
Well, I've never seen Hunter race in physically, like, in real time, but he's a heck of a commentator. He commentated with me down in New Zealand. He is from New Zealand. But we'll claim him as American because he's also American. He's in Wisconsin at the moment. He's getting ready for his second season of Pro 2000. He's had a really interesting career here in the States. We've had him on a couple of times, and we wanted to get him on now because they've just had some testing and getting ready for their season ahead. He's a good boy, and his dad raced, and that's how he got to racing. And he's a co-com of mine, so he's always welcome on the show. Hunter, how are you, mate?
That was a really nice introduction, mate. I mean, I don't know how much you're going to charge me after saying all those nice things, but thank you, mate. I'm doing okay.
How was the test?
It was good. I mean, it's always nice, to be honest, to have a smooth test like we did. I mean, every session we were in the top 5, which is always a strong thing. Particularly this year, I think, we have 17 cars on the grid. A lot of Europeans coming over from, FIF3 and a lot of other competitive categories around the world. So I think this year you're going to see a lot of guys at the front and a really compressed field. So, you look at the timesheets, it's ultra close, and there was a lot of guys shuffling around. So I ended up 4th overall, which, it was okay. I mean, it was, like I said, really smooth, and I can't wait to get back there for the race.
Hunter, why don't you explain to the folks what actually happens there and what is the value of this?
Of the test?
Yes, sir.
Basically, it's funny you say that because in previous years, we start the season off at St. Pete. So basically, we go the spring training, we actually test at Homestead. And if I'm being perfectly honest, the preseason test actually isn't that useful because, I mean, apart from the fact that everyone wants to beat each other, it's a track we don't race at. And the surface is extremely abrasive. So we have limited sets of tires for the track time we have. So to be honest, this year is different because obviously we're starting the championship at Barber. And we actually are testing at Barber. So this year, I think it's probably a little more actually worthwhile. Obviously it's worthwhile because we're actually testing the track we're racing at. So that's extremely beneficial. I mean, to get laps at the track you're racing on at a preseason test before the event, that's really nice. And I think, everyone actually did a 2-day test before we even did the preseason test. So, by the time we get to the track, we have another 2 tests before the race weekend on the Thursday coming up this week. So, everyone's going to know the track. And I think, to be honest, that actually is the reason why everyone is so close because, everyone's had a lot of track time, constantly improving. Everyone's, including myself, we're dialing setups, we're trying things, we're getting better. So I think it's going to be extremely, extremely close race and extremely competitive as it already is. So, yeah, it's obviously, to answer your question, the test is very important and probably more so this year with what I've already talked about.
Well, Hunter, you talked a minute ago. You said there's a lot of good competition, guys from all over the world. But to do as well as you did in that test, just start there. To do as well as you did there in, spec cars, everybody's driving the same hardware. You're obviously, it's very impressive, and you've done a great job. Talk about how you got here in your career to this far.
Thank you, mate. I'd love everyone to give me that sort of credit for getting 4th. I mean, geez, imagine if I win. Like, no.
Oh, you'll be hosting the show, mate.
Reserved parking spot too.
Well, to be honest, I started out my career in New Zealand out of the back of my grandfather's trailer. So that was really cool to honestly start my career like that. Believe it or not, most people I race start off racing a lot higher level than that. So I started off grassroots in New Zealand, worked my way up through Formula Ford, eventually ending up in Australian Formula Ford, which, to be honest, in terms of Formula Ford, it's no question the most competitive open wheel championship in Australia. Apart from TRS in New Zealand, in the first 5 weeks of kind of the year in January, it's the most competitive open wheel championship in Australasia, like I said, apart from TRS, and kind of as a stepping stone into TRS. So at the time they had a really good tie to the road to Indy, and my goal was to always win that championship and get myself a road to Indy shootout ticket, which would get me a chance to get my way into the road to Indy. So, my dream's always has been always to be an IndyCar driver, as many others. So, I kind of saw that as, if I can do that, if I don't win that, I'm probably going to be wasting my time if I can't win at Australia in a national level. I don't really have the financial means, so I have to be pretty damn good to get there. So luckily I was able to win the Australian Championship in 2018, go to America, and I did a few tests, which went really well in USF 2000. I topped all the tests I did, and I was like, oh, this is good. Then I did the shootout, 2 days in Arizona. We're all in the same car. It was a very, very crazy experience, because you race against guys from all over the world, 18 different champions. So that was awesome. And then I was able to win that scholarship shootout. At the time, it was the Mazda Road to Indy USF 2000 $200,000 scholarship shootout. It was called. It was a mouthful, but it was awesome. And for that year, leading into 2019, I was the Mazda scholarship driver in USF 2000. So that was a dream come true, because that was like 3 or 4 years of dreaming of that. Ever since that came about, really, I was dreaming of becoming a Road to Indy driver, just to kind of get a shot to progress up the Road to Indy. So for me, that was awesome. Pretty good debut year. I battled for the championship all year long. I started off consistent, and then actually towards the end, I ended up dominating the middle to end of the year. Was leading the championship all the way to the last race of the year, and then I had a failure, which meant I had to start the last race of the year at Laguna from last, and then I ended up losing the championship in the last race of the year to Braden, and then I finished second by like a couple points. So that was gut-wrenching, but to be honest, still an awesome experience. And then from there, obviously progressing to Indy Pro. So here I am.
Well, what about
Really cool.
what about the cars? Because I was looking at the specs of the cars. I mean, these things go over 200 miles an hour, like 450 horsepower. I mean, it's awesome machine and such a gearhead, so I have to dig into all that. But what about the difference in driving this car? I mean, because it's pretty high level, got plenty of downforce and all that.
Yeah, I mean, these cars are fast. I think the USF 2000 obviously is a very fast car too. Stepping up from the Formula Ford, it was a step to go to the USF 2000, and then obviously to the Indy Pro 2000 car, it's another step. The power is fast, but to be honest, the thing that is probably the quickest about this car is how much grip there is. There's a lot of tire. There's very, very big tires on the cars, and you have a lot of aerodynamic grip too. So, your cornering speeds are extremely fast. And I would say, to be honest, at a track like Barber, I mean, I'm used to kilometers, so I'm going to have to do some conversions here. But, there's corners you're doing no problem doing 120 mile an hour, 115
Wow.
through, very tight corners or corners that is very fast for. So, I love that. I love driving these cars. I've never stepped up to a car that I didn't like, put it that way. I stepped into the USF 2000 and I was like, this is awesome. Then I stepped into the Indy Pro car and I was like, this is awesome. So, to answer your question, what it's like to drive a car, love it. It does everything that you'd want a race car to do, put it that way. And, I think for me, being a kind of a guy that loves open wheelers, I really, really love this car.
Awesome. Jonathan, you had something. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah,
a while ago.
eye on the prize. I think, and we've had this conversation before, Hunter, and I'm sure it's the same for Enzo, who's coming on. But the real truth is, the ladder that you've got now on the road to Indy is second to none. The opportunity, and you're a big recipient of it. But if you can win this year, am I right in saying it's almost an automatic Indy Lights run?
Yeah, mate, it's incredible. I mean, the opportunity that Road to Indy gives you, and I am, like you said, I'm a recipient of the scholarship money and have been previously. And, I know how much that helped me. And the thing about it is, if you win, you actually can progress. So it gives guys like me a hope and a shot of being able to actually make a go of this. And I wouldn't be here without the scholarship system right now, already in my career. So, it's almost, it's $750,000 scholarship to go to Lights, and
Wow.
Anywhere else in the world, you go to Europe, or I'm sure Enzo can probably talk
Yeah.
about that. I haven't raced in Europe, but you win F3, what do you get to go to F2? You don't get a scholarship to move to F2, I'm pretty sure. And it's one of those things where it means so much to have that, kind of just as something that you can actually strive for. It's not like, oh yeah, here you go, you won the championship, here's a really cool trophy, and I hope you can get a drive next year. It's that security of being actually able to progress is second to none.
The ladder system that is the Road to Indy is truly, it's really one of the best in motorsports. But hey guys, we got to take a break. So let's go ahead and do that. And when we come back, we'll have more with Hunter McElrea. You're listening to Speed City live from Austin, Texas. Back after these messages.
Hello to everyone, this is Gunther Steiner, this is Speed City.
Welcome back to the fastest hour in radio, Speed City.
All right, welcome back to the show. Our guest is Pro 2000 driver Hunter McElrea in the Road to Indy. And Hunter, I want to talk about Formula One with you. I want to pick your brain because we got our Formula One show next week. And I want to, what do you think so far? Who are you rooting for? Who do you think is fast? What's your predictions?
To be honest, mate, I think I never really root for one driver. I guess I just love watching the competition and watching them battle. And I think this year, compared to last year already, it's good to see the field probably tightened up a bit. I watched the Bahrain race one. That was a good race. Obviously, it came down right to the wire. I think Max got a little robbed, to be honest, with the kind of off track for a few reasons. I think firstly, obviously Lewis was running that. There's YouTube clips, and you can see how much Lewis was using that runoff there, like many, many times. Like I'm talking over 20 times, I'm pretty sure he used it. But obviously he was never making a pass like that. And I think maybe also, like, if they just gave Max a 5-second penalty, I think he probably could have pulled away. Like, if you look at how much he pulled in that half a lap, I think it was like 1.5 seconds. So, it would have been close. But yeah, great race, and it's good to see the tight battle.
All right, we're going to go from Formula One to NASCAR. Did you get to? I know you were watching the race. I know you were watching the race today because we could see it in the reflection a while ago when you first joined. But we got NASCAR coming to Austin on
cool.
May 23rd. How about that? How about NASCAR on the Formula One track here in Austin? What do you think about that?
Yeah, those guys are going to be hanging it out, mate, because there's a lot of high speed corners at COTA, and not much error on those bad boys. So I think those guys, if there is a road track specialist, I think they'll be pretty handy. I think Chase Elliott's been strong actually at the Rovals and things like that. So Chase Elliott, I'm going to call it early, unless there's like a hot shoe they bring in, which they sometimes do. I think Chase Elliott will be pretty strong, but that'll be a good spectacle to watch. I think for sure.
It's good. They'll be hanging it out. They'll be like drift cars going around COTA in those big old powerful heavy NASCARs.
Yeah, man. I mean, those guys, they drive hard. Like I was just watching Martinsville just then, like you said, and even at the end there, Truex got the win. I'm pretty sure, and he was hanging it out at the end, and those tires obviously. Tire wear and things like that in NASCAR obviously come to play so much. And then, put that on a road course with a lot of high speed loading corners. Yeah, man, I think who knows, there could be a guy who does pit strategy or gets a lucky yellow and just has so much tire grip at the end. So probably would be a few door banging, I think, as well, a huge wide straightaway into a really tight corner as well. So that's definitely going to be a race worth watching. I'm going to call that.
Jonathan, it sounds like you got your co-commentator here.
Oh, he's my man. I'm telling you. If you're not doing anything in the middle of May, come join me. I tell you what, given that we're going around the houses, what about Indy Lights? I was thinking about, we were talking about Kyle Kirkwood, talking about a recipient who, like yourself, has come through the ranks by sheer skill. I love to watch what he's doing, and I wish him the best for Indy Lights this year. It's going to be tough. But also IndyCar. What a season it's going to be. And you must be rooting for Scotty and, well, the two Scots, the two great Scots. But Indy's going to be good. Are you going to get a chance to, rub some shoulders with the big boys?
Yeah, man, I think it's a lot of great racing. I mean, at the end of the day, I obviously I'm lucky enough to race myself, and when I put the helmet on, you kind of just focus on yourself. But away from the track, I'm a race fan too, so I always watch racing, and I'm trying to learn, and to be honest, I just enjoy watching it. I love racing. I'm a racer, so I've watched pretty much whenever you get a chance, the track, especially when we're obviously a support category of IndyCar, it's so cool to watch those guys hustle around and see what they do. And I've known Scott McLaughlin since I was really little. He was my first ever sponsor, or his dad was my first ever sponsor. So
that's a cool story. Tell us about that.
I mean, I've known him for a long, long time, and the first ever simulator I drove was his. And I used to go around. We used to live close to each other, and I used to ride my bike around his house and be like, "Can I drive in a simulator?" And he'd be like, "Sure." I'd spend hours on it, and mainly crash into things. But I love that, and it's crazy to see what he's doing and how it's all worked out with him. Racing in the States, and he's doing a great job. So yeah, I've known him for a long time. His sister used to babysit me, my brother. So it's been funny to see how things work out.
Oh, that's great. One of the things, talking about the NASCAR at COTA, I'm excited to see it. And I'm excited to see, so they've modified the berms a little bit, the curb. And I want to see how they handle things. One, very fondly remembering the Aussie V8 supercars when they were here. Mm-hmm. And I want to see the American take on those big curbs.
Yeah, I think they'll, anything I know about like big car like that, they'll be using as much curb as they possibly can. So if you want to see some curb usage, I'd be ready for that.
I think I'm going to go and collect the rubber up after the weekend's over, because it's going to be, you could probably make your own factory of rubber and start redoing them.
Well, Hunter, we want to thank you for coming on the show. Hunter McElrea, watch for him in the Indy Pro 2000 series, and I'm sure we'll have you back on the show again soon. And we really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me, and hope to see you guys soon.
And tell our audience when they can see you, and when the first race is at Barber, and your social.
First race this weekend at Barber. Don't miss it. Road to Indy app, Road to Indy TV, all my socials, Hunter McElrea, and thanks, guys.
All right.
Hey, appreciate it, Hunter. Best of luck.
Hunter.
Take care, man.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.